Welcome to Manifesting Talks with myself, Meera Allen, and this is episode 2. Meditation is a piece of cake. Enjoy. So if meditation really was an actual piece of cake, would we sit in meditation longer every day? Would we enjoy it and savor it like it's a beautiful, sweet, delicious dessert of our life that can nourish us completely? We all know that we are born with some sort of life-sustaining energy, a force that dwells in every single living human being. Whether you want to call it the soul, whether you want to call it the Holy Spirit, whatever energy you'd like to call it, or whatever name you'd like to give it, whether it's something from the quantum field and those small photonic particles of light and sound and frequency that we're made of. Either way, there is something very, very special about humans. We are really having a temporary human existence with a physical body, with an intellectual mind, but underlying our true, radiant inner nature is a spiritual self. So that physical body and that mind are covering that true spiritual self. So in today's talk, we're going to look at how we humans are paralleled to the baking and the eating of a piece of cake, and how we're being prepared to merge into that beautiful, soft, spacious sweetness, just like a piece of cake. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, there comes a section where he talks about the yamas, or the disciplines. These are what we would call the ingredients that you could mix into your mixing bowl of life to help you access this meditation that's a piece of cake. But before we get any ingredients that we want to add to our cake, we need to look at our physical being. Our physical body, just like the baking tin, needs to be washed and scrubbed and cleaned. You would never bake a cake in a dirty baking tin with last night's macaroni and cheese stuck to the sides, full of dirty bacteria and things that have grown moldy or anything over the top of it. No. You would take that baking tin, you would scrub it down clean. You would wash it, you would dry it, and then you would line it with baking paper. So too with our human body. As we prepare ourselves to go into the sweetness of our meditation practice, we too need to scrub the physical body, internally and externally. Free ourselves from toxins. So coming back to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, those moral ingredients are, in the yamas, the first one is called ahimsa, which means non-violence or non-harming other living beings, and not even for our food. The second is satya, truthfulness or non-falsehood. The third is asteya, which actually just translates to non-stealing, but it's also about not being envious or jealous of other people's success. There's brahmacharya, which is chastity or marital fidelity or sexual restraint and discipline. There is finally aparigraha, that non-avarice and non-possessiveness, because truly in life we don't own anything. Now these are the ingredients that are given to us, the moral ingredients from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras in the yamas, that can mix into our mixing bowl of all the things that we need to include before we go and bake our cake. When we deeply understand all these moral ingredients, we combine this understanding, but then we actually combine it with our experience. We then start to become ready. We've scrubbed our bodies clean of toxins like drugs or alcohol or anything that's going to alter the mind in a way that it doesn't give us that clean, clear state of the physical form. Just as we would scrub off any baked on cheese or anything that's stuck onto that baking tray, we get rid of that. We wash that. And then we've integrated our morality, and we truly know from the clean slate where we start. Clear of mind, clear of body, clear of heart. That's when we get the baking paper out and we're ready to line that baking tin. When we line this baking tin, we are now internally integrated and ready to take the next step on our journey. It's not always an easy step to take on the journey of meditation, to really detox the body and mind, to clear everything out the way. It's helpful for us to have a recipe or to have a master chef that always gives us a very clear recipe and instructions, and with exact ingredients and how we're meant to mix that into our practice. We often need a guide so that we can step forward in our spiritual goals. There comes a time within one's life where we start to realize all this energy of the world, all the distractions of the kitchen, there's so many condiments in cupboards, there's so many different foods in different cupboards and fridges and all these things. But now to bake our simplicity of our beautiful meditation cake, we know we only require the simple ingredients, as Patanjali put in those yamas, to mix those within ourselves in the right quantities, and we start to combine that in our mixing bowl of life. We realize the morality that we have in our life is starting to permeate through us. We realize things start to shift, people start to shift, challenges start to shift. We realize that there is a more simple way of being. Maybe previously, wine and alcohol and those kinds of things were part of a huge social circle of friends, and we realize that social circle of friends don't have the same moral ingredients that we need to put into our simplicity of our meditation cake. So those things tend to drop away. Sometimes it's without us even trying, and it seems that a new path has been forged forward. We start to learn that we have got this ability connecting to something far more divine within us. We start to realize when we sit in our meditation practice that we do use all those moral ingredients as a foundation for our ability to sit in the stillness and dwell deeper within the self. So now we've mixed, we've cleaned everything off our baking tray. We have this beautiful lined tin ready to go. We mix our batter together of our moral intentions, our simplicity, every single key ingredient that we need, the truthfulness, and we mix it all into our bowl and pour that in to our clean baking tin. And this is the crucial time now. We sit in the dark oven of life. Once that cake mixture has gone into that oven, we close the door to the external world, and we go within, and we sit and we meditate as we feel like we're sitting and doing nothing, and we bake. When we're baking, when we're sitting, it sometimes feels like nothing is happening at first. So too, as a cake is baking, it's put under immense heat and pressure. And so too in our lives, when we go down a spiritual path, we will notice we are put under some extreme challenges and extreme pressure, whether those challenges be moral, financial, health, or whichever aspect of our life that it comes up in, relationships, friends, and family. We must be like that cake and endure the heat. When we're in a meditation, no matter how many thoughts are arising and trying to get in and disturb and shake that stillness from the third eye within, we must simply sit, just as the yogis have done in the past, just as the meditators have done in the past, just like in every martial art discipline. It's the same discipline to sit with that stillness and endure the heat. And in whatever heat that comes in whatever form in our lives, we must have the effort and the determination to sit. But finally, as we put in that effort to go in the dark, to close our eyes and go within, we finally create some space. That spaciousness is just like the cake. Bit by bit, that cake starts to rise and rise. And so too does our consciousness. To remain at that third eye center and to keep that focus, yet being in a very receptive state, as the yogis call it, in that dhyanan, the light, and the samadhi, the receiving. There is a word in Sanskrit that many yogis describe, which is called Ishvara Pranidhana, the joyful surrender to the divine grace. Whether you surrender with joy, whether you surrender with absolute exhaustion, whether you surrender just because it's time to let go, whether you surrender because you know not what else to do. The beauty of that surrender allows our mind and the ego to stop, and it allows our heart and our soul to shine brighter. The body in its stillness and that peacefulness within can start to rise and rise upward. So when this happens, we sit, we focus within, and there comes a time where the light is so beautiful and we merge within. And returning back to our baking cake, as it has been quietly sitting and rising, there is another transformation that starts to take place, and it just permeates our natural energy. It just starts to permeate all around us. Giving ourselves this space in silence is so critical for our human being to connect with how to be, to lose the distractions of the world, and to connect to our inner true divine self. When this subtle transformation happens, it is the scent of the baked cake that starts to permeate through the oven, through the kitchen, and then through the whole house. It is this unspoken, it's an invisible force that's always been there, but now it's truly being realized, simply because we are sitting in the stillness, neither upset by the heat, neither upset by the challenges, and instead we sit in that deep surrender in our meditation practice. We transcend the physical body, we transcend the mind, and we tune in to our actual spirit. This is not a new technique whatsoever. This is an old technique that has been used through so many religions over the years. It's a time when the soul can commune or merge back with the Creator, and it's the Creator's opportunity for us to be in the full experience of ourselves in the highest and most liberating way. In our meditation, we get to practice what it feels like without a body, without a mind. We get to truly feel what it's like to be free, to truly feel what it feels like to be in that joyful surrender of the divine, or Ishvara Pranidhana. The cake now finally is baked. We get to remove the cake from the oven, and even more of its beautiful scent is flooding through the house and beyond. And so too, as you merge more in your meditation practice, leaving the body behind, leaving the mind behind, and creating that spaciousness, that gap between thoughts, and piercing through that space and connecting to your soul self. Your own energetic field starts to carry a new fragrance, a peaceful and loving aroma that is always around you. This is a grace, a sweetness that surrounds your soul. And this is what people will sense around you. And this is what you will long to be dwelling in more and more every day. So we sit, we cool off, and we feel the blessings of the Creator. Whatever you believe the Creator to be, Buddha, Allah, Jesus, Krishna, doesn't really matter what you name your Creator, God, the quantum field. Whatever you believe created this magnificent multiverse, universe, and entirety of the cosmos. It longs for your success, to tune into your soul and no longer be bondage to your body and your mind. It wants you to know and experience your spiritual true self through this temporary human existence. So now your cake has cooled off, and it is absolutely perfection. It has been through an arduous journey of life. It's been put through the heat. It's been beaten to a mushy pulp, and it's gone through so many phases of transformation. It may have been a little uncomfortable at times, whether you believe this lifetime or many lifetimes if you believe in reincarnation. But now it's time for the point of death of this particular cake. The cake is cooled, and we are at the point where a clean cut is made, and we are detached and free of this world. The final surrender, the true surrender to the divine. Our maker, our creator, our baker, our master chef takes that slice and it eats that cake, and we are merged into the divine bliss. We are merged with our maker. Everything, humans, stars, galaxies, it's all connected to this invisible energy, a place beyond space and time, a rich substance and frequency that binds our life force. It is also known in Western science as quantum entanglement, where the tiniest light particles are linked in some way, and they always remain so. The universe, our thoughts, and everything else is interconnected. The oneness of Source, that drop, that soul that is part of the vast ocean, or that ocean that is found within a single drop. As this cake is being merged with our Creator, the scent is through the house. The death of that cake doesn't even feel like a death. It is no longer bound by the physical. Instead, it's boundless and formless and expansive. So although the journey may have seemed long, may seem as if all that time of preparation, searching for the right method, all the research, all the lifetimes, all the effort and hours of sitting in our meditation, it does transform us to our very core. It transforms us to rise in this long, arduous journey and take our consciousness away from the lower levels and into that higher, lofty ideal of pure love, pure light. In retrospect, our cravings to merge with the Creator, yearning to enjoy this divine sweetness and experience our soul, is really written well by John Newton. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. This is the journey, the struggles, the heat of the oven, the time spent sitting in the dark, the unknown, the detachment from the earthly world, yearning for something more beautiful, more sweet, that we know we are a part of. We know every living soul is a part of. Every human, no matter what they do on the earth, no matter how they live, but every single human is all one little droplet of a magnificent ocean of love. All of our souls at some point will emancipate and be free of this physical body. But we get to be with that freedom every time we sit in the dark, hot oven of our meditation practice. We're just that one step closer to being like a piece of cake, sweet and full of love and risen with our consciousness and ready to merge with our Creator